Green Lantern Corps, issue 14, legacy number 117, Morgan Hampton writing, with, oh god, I've written Skylar Partridge on art. That's not right. I've copied Skylar Partridge's name down twice. Oh yes. No. What have I done?
Let's see. I got Fernando Passarin.
That's it.
On the art.
Fernando Passarin, that's the one. I remember. Which, you know, cool. He's a solid enough house style artist. Nothing earth-shattering. Certainly he's drawn the hell out of the bowl cut on a guy this issue, I'll say that much.
This qualifies for thanks, I hate it.
Actually, the biggest thing about the art, and it's not that it's drawn badly, it's just inconsistent with the previous artists, is that the little furry lantern,
the cat.
Yeah, the cat. Well, that's my problem. Is that, I mean, he was always a cat, don't get me wrong, but here he just looks like a normal cat head, whereas before it was more of like a, you know, like a cartoon cat looking sort of face. It was a bit more like accentuated. And here it's just such a normal cat head that I didn't realize it was meant to be the same character as those previous issues.
Until he got bigger and became his like more lion form, I was like, oh, that's Narf. Like, yeah, he doesn't. He looks like just a regular cat, and that's not how he looked. He looked like a anthropomorphic cat before. It
looked like like more of like a Hanna-Barbera type cat. Yeah. Whereas now he looks, at the very least, it feels like he's got a big chubbier face because they've went with a more natural looking cat head, which isn't necessarily a bad choice, but because I was used to how it was before, I immediately was like, wait, who's this cat dude? And it's like, oh, it's him, okay. So that's a bit of a strain. Although Dexter's there as well, bowing before Guy, because you see, everyone's found out that Guy is seeing the baby versions of the entities, so he's got a bunch of followers now who think he's the prophet, that he's the chosen one, because they're all going to be reborn through his mind or some bullshit.
This is so weird. And like, I understand putting Guy in this spot because it's counter to what you would normally think, but all of the different lanterns coming up to him, and like Arkillo, and again, I know not everything's canon, but Guy and Arkillo ended up being buddies. And I can't imagine Arkillo thinking like, oh, this man's the chosen one, I'm going to bow to him. He knows how much of an idiot Guy Gardner is. And I feel like if anybody, Arkillo would have been like, all right, we got to figure out a way to get these out of you because you're out of anybody. You should not be a chosen one. You know, so just there's some very weird things that I ultimately enjoy, like where this is going and them using this as a device to get to the reborn entities. But yeah, man, some of the decisions that they made, very weird.
I mean, I'm kind of amused by it. I like everyone who knows Guy more personally poking fun at him for like having this following, and Guy picking who he wants for his team because he's picking people who won't worship him. He's like going out of his way. Like, I'm picking Sinestro because he won't kiss my ass. Sinestro will give me shit, and that's what I want. Like, I appreciate that. So yeah, basically Jessica Cruz has called him to her office, and her and Joe are there to, you know, basically give him his mission, and, you know, do all this stuff. And he's all for it, because anything that like gets him closer to getting rid of these entities out of his head, which are just annoying him, the happier he is. Meanwhile, the John Stewart side of the story is that him and the missus aren't so in a good place. She's kind of upset that she's been dragged to Oa, and she's had not really much say on anything since they got here. And she wants to go to Kurigar. And John's like, sure, I've taken some time off to spend with you. I'll take you to Kurigar. Let's go do that. So they do. Also, we get a map of Oa at one point in the middle of this issue, which is cool. I'm never going to remember any of these names, but, you know.
No, I definitely spent way too much time reading all of these.
What I thought was interesting is that the headquarters for the Green Lanterns and the Blue Lanterns are both in the state of Viridia, right? But both the red and the yellow are in the state of Amaranth, and I'm like, red and yellow in the same state? Are you mad? That sounds like a horrible combination. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah.
And it makes sense with green and blue, right? Because they're complementary.
Oh, sure.
They work together a lot more and stuff. But yeah, and also the fact they're in Viridian, which Viridian's a form of green, right? Like they're playing with the word structure there. But yeah. I forgot that Katmatui was Korogaran. I just, in all the different aliens that we meet, I I just forgot that's where she's from. So when they end up going to Korrigar, I was like, oh, this is the tie to get back to all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, so the plot of that is basically that when they're there, and she's quite happy, Katma's like, oh, hey, I feel at home here, and even though it's new Korrigar and not original Korrigar, but, that's not an option anymore, so she wants to be surrounded by her people, and they've come across, like, a street fighting tournament, and she's like, oh, this is an old tradition, it's a fighting tournament, and then the winner picks someone out the crowd, and he's like, that doesn't sound like fun, what if I don't want to fight? But this guy named Terrorfist, which is a hell of a name, sounds like Matt's old Pornhub searches, to be honest, but he...
Wait, what?
The delayed reaction to what I just said was beautiful. But, so this Terrorfist wins, and then someone in the crowd volunteers, and it turns out to be Sarnik. And it's like, okay, we're bringing her back in. But very quickly, once she starts breaking this guy's arm, John's like, wait a minute, I'm sensing yellow coming off of her. Like, I need to call this in. This is like this is the one of these anomalies where the energy of the spectrum is erupting somewhere. And sure enough, that turns out to be the case. And John, she recognizes John is there and says, hey, Green Lantern, come over here. And John basically offers to, like, be the host, like, like, possess me instead, yellow entity, and I'll take you where you need to go. So he does, and so we get like this yellow lantern looking John Stewart by the end of this, looking all scary, whilst also with a bit of green. It's kind of a mix at the end. Yeah,
there's I do like it. It's the combination green yellow type stuff, which we haven't really seen, because usually when the entities take over, we get like a yellow lantern version of their stuff. But this seems like there's just accents. There's a bit of the Sinestro suit to it, right?
It's more of a coexistence, but the voice of the entity is like talking and be like, oh yeah, this is much better. You've got the willpower or whatever to blah blah blah. So it's fun, and immediately Sarnik looks like she's kind of helping Katma, so it feels like she is back to being like not just a rage bound, ready to snap arms character.
Yeah, she is a doctor, so it does make sense. She immediately pops in.
So a guy picks his crew to go off on his mission, and Joe's there. We got Ellie, who's a Blue Lantern now, of course. We got Sinestro. We got Aya, Razor, Larfleeze, which I did like when they called Larfleeze. He's just like, yeah, I'm on my hammock. Like, I've got what I want. I don't need to be on missions.
I do like seeing them like put this Rainbow Coalition together, because like it does start to remind me a bit of the Blackest Night, when you had all of the main guys having to team up because of Necron. So now there's this coexistence, and now they're all going. So them sitting in this ship around Guy is such a fun visual, because all the colors pop in their own way. And I do, and I know it's because of stuff that's going on in Green Lantern, but just the fact of the lack of a violet, thing here, it screams that there's two compassion lanterns, but that's my own brain.
Yeah, well, Carol's doing violet stuff right now, so that's been dealt with.
But now, they're off looking for the Indigo entity, and they go off there.
Yeah, it's the one battery. It's the one big battery they don't have on Oa, is the Indigo one.
Yeah, no, it's not the Indigo. It's the Violet.
Yeah.
Yes. But so they're chasing that down. So we're handling that. We know where the yellow one is now, right? So I feel like Morgan Hampton's really economizing us getting through finding the entities, and I feel like it's good that they're not going to drag us. Along for
looking for the Indigo entity has led them in to forbidden space, because it's Manhunter territory, and the cliffhanger at the end is a bunch of Manhunters like grab them and are like, oh, you're prepare to die, you've entered our territory, blah blah blah. But they do mention though that one of the lanterns is like, hey, look into their eyes, something else is going on. The Manhunters are feeding on the compassion of the entity. So it's like, oh, it is here. Like, they've definitely come to the right place, but unfortunately it's created a bit of a situation with the Manhunters.
Yeah, so the Manhunters' home planet is called Biot, and it's supposed to be destroyed, but when they show up, it's been rebuilt. And they're like, this is weird. I feel like we should know something about this. And then they get descended on by these Manhunters who come through, with their whole android selves. And yeah, it seems like they're feeding on the power of compassion, which is definitely weird, you know, to have androids feeling compassion. So I feel like the who's our I almost called her Yara, but Yara's the other compassion lantern. Aya. I feel like Aya is going to factor in heavily here, being that she's also an android. And we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, and like I said, Passarin's a very house-style DC artist. It's very reasonable, but nothing standout, I would say. You know, there's nothing about... Like, there's the odd good facial expression. Like I said, there's a little bit of an inconsistency with how he's drawing Barf. Narf? Barf? Narf?
Barf. Narf. He is... You know that I think about it, I wonder if Passarin drew him that way because it's very similar to Nort, you know, the dog guy from Justice League International. And I wonder if he just wanted to kind of do his version of that with Narf to make him more of a kitty cat.
I mean...
But it's definitely weird, you know? You
can't just decide that, though. That's a poor choice if you just decide to change it because you felt like doing it.
And that's my big issue with this Green Lantern Corps run, is just that sometimes the art feels haphazard.
The art feels like
and all this
very afterthought. It feels like, okay, we've got the story, let's just throw artists at issues so they get done in time, and that's about it. There's no... It doesn't feel like there's an artist who's like making it their book by any stretch. At least not yet, anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, I do like the general plot direction of both sides of the plot here. I like the John Stewart stuff leading to Sarnik on New Karagar, and I like Guy being given this like misfit team of different lanterns to try and go find the entities. And, you know, this idea that he's got this cult following now because some of the lanterns are now worshipping him because he's the seer. He's the one he's the prophet. He's the one who can see them.
He's the all-sight, is what they're calling him. Which I do like. I like when they do this type of stuff because Kyle's the torchbearer, and if Guy gets to be the all-sight, you know, and we'll get some cool nicknames for Hal and John later, you know. But I do like that they're continuing that kind of vibe.
I will say the first page was a little heavy on like him narrating. He's sort of just describing his backstory for like a page, and it was like a bit heavy. I was like, I don't really need this to be this in depth. Just say, I'm Guy Gardner, I'm a screw up, but I got suddenly too important at work. Like, because that was a funny page turn. I got too important at work. That's good, but there was too much build up to it with the text.
Yeah. God, and I really hope they didn't give him the bowl cut because of the Superman movie, because I thought we were past that. You know, we're beyond the bowl cut.
No, it's
at
back.
This point.
It's a bowl cut.
Yeah.
The bowl cut.
That's what he gets for losing the KO tournament, is now who Superman has made him, you know, through KO in this universe that he has to have the bowl cut.
They do reference, they say he's got alpha energy because he was in the KO tournament, and I'm like, really? We're actually, I don't know, I want to forget it. I want to forget it existed.
If anybody has alpha energy, it's Guy Gardner, but it's not that kind of alpha energy.
No, it's a egomaniac alpha energy is what it is.
Yes.
But yeah, all right, what are you giving Green Lantern Corps?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
I'll give it a 7. I like the story. I like the characters. Obviously, the art's not amazing, and it's not like the most like intricately put together story. But I think there's things here to enjoy if you like this corner of the universe. But it's never going to win any awards or fight for top 10 at the end of the year or anything like that. I don't think. So, which is fine. That's a fine thing to be.